So comment, subscribe, dislike, or like. Check out the links in the descriptions for other of my sites, other activities that I'm involved in. Got a whole bunch of Facebook groups you can check out. I play multiple card games, so I do music among other things, so check out the links in the description. So this is my Ward Off Evil deck. Basically, it's just based off the idea of creatures with ward or giving stuff ward. For example, we have a Protector Shield, which gives all of your permanents pretty much ward 1. And since a lot of the cards already have ward, either they have ward 1 or have a form of ward 1, the best type is to discard a card ward 1 ward ability, because this combined with Protector Shields is much better, because now you're making your opponent's effects and spells cost 1 more in order to try to use, which means they have less energy for other stuff. Also, you get to make them discard a card in the process. So for the discarded card ward abilities, there's the one where you pay 3 life, but that's not that good, especially with a lot of life gaining in the game. Not the best thing. But not every deck has draw power, so making your opponent discard a card in order to try to get rid of something, while they were already playing something to try to get rid of something, it's better. I mean, it just works out better mathematically. The less cards your opponent has to play against you, the better it is for you. So there's the basic idea. Alright, so here's the list. 2 Chaplain of Ohms, 2 Eye Twitch, 2 Ghastly Gloom Hunter, 4 Protector Shields. This is a very important card, right? So we gotta have 4 of them. 2 Skyclave Apparitions, 2 Graveyard Trespasser, 2 Westgate Regent, 2 Vanishing Verse, 2 Poison the Cup, 4 Doomscar, 4 Paladin Class, which on your turn pretty much is ward 1 for your opponent to play spells on your turn. And there's 4 of them. And then 2 Meathook Massacre. We have 3 Soren, 3 Kaya. And of course, we use Kaya to help us recycle our creatures like Skyclave Apparitions and stuff like that, Eye Twitches, so we can use them over and over again, which is why we only really have 2 copies of most of our creatures, so we can have some variety, as well as get some cool effects. We got 6 Plains, 6 Swamps, 4 Bright Climb Pathway, 4 Shadow Sanctum, and 4 Fields of Ruins, obviously for those man lands. And it comes in handy, plus also the fact that sometimes it helps with mana fixing. Sometimes you need a certain land, so you can go grab it when you need it. Typically, you need a minimum of 2 black energy, 2 white energy, for most of your cards, because most of your cards require a minimum of 2 black, 2 white. So keep that in mind. So there's that. When you mulligan, you want to make sure you have a Doomscar, and you want to foretell it on turn 2. That way, if you have to use it on turn 3 or turn 4, you already have it ready to roll. Because more likely your opponent, especially if you're going up against a red aggro, white aggro deck or something, some decks that play a lot of cheap stuff and makes them strong really fast, you definitely want this. This deck is a little slow, obviously, in regards that most of what you're going to really be doing is on turn 4 and above. So if you're trying to get to turn 4 to play this in a shield form, and then go from there, playing your creatures, and then they'll be protected by this, you'll be protected by this. And it just slows your opponent's capabilities, it just makes it harder for them to play against you, which is always the goal. Make the game easy for you, but hard for your opponent. And of course, we got board wipes, we got ways to clear opponent's board, plus this in itself can be a win con, because you can use this to make your opponent lose life. And also you can make it where you gain life. So you kill their creatures, you gain life. They kill your creatures, they lose life. We already have some gameplay, so you can see this deck in action. Just trying to point out the cool aspect of the fact that a lot of people like to use stuff like banishing verse, for example, poison cut, things of that nature. Little cheap kill spells or burn spells, especially red aggro decks like to use a lot of cheap burn spells. So having the shield up to 1, not only do you get ward 1, right, you also prevent 1 damage. So if you have a creature with like 2 toughness and someone tries to do 2 damage to it, well, this will reduce it by 1, so only does 1 damage, and then they have to pay an extra for it, so it won't cost 1 or 2 energy. 1 or 2 mana to play the card. It costs more to play. Then, if you play this in its Redain form, its creature form, Snowlands your opponent controls into the battlefield tapped, which comes in handy, especially against a lot of decks that like to use Snowlands, especially to use Blood in the Snow, and then non-creature spells your opponent cast with mana value 4 or greater cost 2 more to cast. So this comes in handy for Auron's Epiphany and Memory Deluge and things of that nature. Anything that costs a lot of board wipes. If your opponent tries to use their own Doomscar, it's going to cost 2 more, for example. So you get the idea. So first and foremost, you want to get the shield up. Then after that, you definitely want to bring out a Redain to just slow down your opponent from trying to use some type of big spell card. And just have more control. So it's like a tax deck. You're trying to make it where everything your opponent does costs more, especially Paladin class really good against them. Blue counterspell decks, making their counterspells cost 1 more. So if they try to use counterspells that cost less energy and they only kept enough, this will help. And of course, it stacks. If you have multiple copies, this just makes it much harder for them to play counterspells, which is one of the reasons you play it. The other reason is the whole +1/+1 to all your creatures, to make your creatures stronger, because they're not that strong, but you want to make them stronger. And then, of course, with the Protector Shield's ability, reducing 1 damage, this will help your creatures survive longer, especially if you're using them to block. So they'll be able to block creatures that have the same, that has the same power as your creature's toughness, and you'll survive because you're reducing 1 damage. And in my gameplays, you see where I will block multiple creatures against a creature, just so my creatures take little to no damage, and I end up dealing a lot of damage to that creature and kill that creature in the process, which is a really fun thing to do, to block with multiple creatures to 1 creature and then kill it, and then your opponent's like, what the hell happened? My creature died and it barely did anything to creatures. Yep, that's the idea. And of course we have a good amount of flyers, some lifelink flyers, got another flyer, we got eye twitch. Of course we have a sideboard, forgot about that. 1 environmental scientist, 1 reduced to memory. This is our go-to, like the first card we go grab once we learn with eye twitch. We go grab this real quick because it's a cheap way of removing stuff. The alternative is Introduction to Annihilation, but it costs 2 more, so that's why we go straight for Reduced to Memory, because it's cheaper. Necrotic Fumes, it's the backup version. Gets rid of creatures or planeswalker, but you have to sacrifice a creature. Inkling, Summoning, 2/1 flyer with lifelink. Oh, I don't have lifelink. Just a 2/1 flyer. It should have lifelink. So it's just a good flyer. These give you life. You get 2 tokens for the 2 chump blockers. Introduction and Annihilation. You get exile anything that's a non-land permanent, and your opponent draws. So, and then of course Mascot Exhibition, so that way you can go wide if you, especially after a board wipe. And Most of the stuff is self-explanatory. Of course, you want to get to level 3 on this card because it gives you the ability to give a target attacking creature +1/+1 for each other attacking creature, and it gains double strike. So that comes in handy because, you know, attacking twice with something strong, especially if it's a flyer. Typically, you want to target one of your flyers, which is why we have a lot of flyers. With this effect, so that way you can attack a lot. Definitely want to use it on a lifelink creature, so that way you can gain a lot of life. So that's an important detail. Not a lot of, you know, lifelink flyers in this deck, obviously, but at least we have one that we can use. Kaya, you know, helps us exile a creature. I mean, any non-land permanent for -3, which is the first thing we do is we -3 with her. Then after that, we do the ghost form thing of +1ing her to give a ghost form counter to one of our creatures. So that way we can generate tokens. Typically, we want to give it to a creature that, you know, we're more likely going to use. We want to use over and over again, like Graveyard Trespasser. Use her. Enter the battlefield ability to exile our opponent's creatures from the graveyard, so we can make our opponent use a life and we gain life. So this is another way of gaining life in the deck. Or we use Skyclave Apparition to get rid of any problematic 4-cost or less card. Bounce it, you know, have it die, bounce back to our hand, make a 1/1 token that we can obviously use that token to protect ourselves from our opponent's illusion token that they'll get from Skyclave's ability. And then at least we'll be able to reuse this and get rid of any other problematic stuff. Because clearly we have, you know, a whole bunch of cards to kill creatures, so we don't have to worry about that. Sorin, of course, gives us a 2/3 flying with lifelink. We definitely take advantage of that. And then, of course, with the Paladin, making it into a 3/4 with lifelink, and then, of course, with the level 3 ability, make it stronger. Double strike so we can gain a lot of life, so we try to take advantage of that. And then, of course, the +1 ability to look at the top of our decks. If it's a land, we immediately add it to our hand, obviously, because we won't lose no life for doing that. And we, you know, always need lands. But it becomes a drawing engine. So it can generate tokens, it can generate draws, so it serves a lot of purposes, obviously. And our main win con, because he tends to get strong really fast, is our Westgate Regent. Whenever he deals combat damage to a player, put that many +1/+1 count. So if he deals 4 or 5 damage, he'll instantly get 4 or 5, you know, +1/+1s. So you can easily go from 4 to 8 or 10 or 5 to 10. You get the idea. You get strong really quick. And then, of course, he already has ward. Then we give him the ward 1 through Protective Shield. And then if we use the level 3 of Paladin class to make him attack twice. So obviously he'll attack, get really strong, and then second attack, you know, he'll hit harder than he did previously, and that should be more than enough. So typically you want to do this effect with him. And of course this will give him +1, so it'll be a 5/5 on the first swing, then he'll be a 10 on the second swing, and after that he'll be a 20 power after the fact. But you only get 2 swings. If you could get one more swing, it'd be GG, right? But being able to do 15 damage off of 1 card, a 2-card combo, doesn't hurt. That's the end of the video.